Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am the Ideology, a photographer based in Nigeria. For those of you that are meeting me for the first time, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also like and share with your friends. So today we'll be talking about frequency separation. So what is frequency separation? Frequency separation is a technique used for high-end retouching basically. And what does it do? It helps you separate the skin tone layer and your texture layer. So what do I mean by skin tone layer or texture layer? The skin tone on any human skin tone, we have different range of skin tones on the skin. So what we try to do is to even out those skin tones. And what I mean by texture is also mean those pulses, those blemishes on the face, those pimples on the face, we want to take them out at least to some extent. So what you do is just to help you separate the skin tone on a layer and a texture on a layer, so you can work on both of them separately. Before we go ahead, I have this free action in my description box, and also free image sample that I use for this tutorial that you can also download and follow along. So you can just go to my description box, click on the Google Drive link and download, and make sure you read the disclaimer, very important. And without wasting our time, let's just go to Photoshop and see what we have and practicalize what I just explained now. So we'll see you in Photoshop. So guys, welcome to Photoshop. I took this image of Diolaito on Instagram, and she's a very great model. I love her skin. The makeup artist did an amazing job on in making sure this image appeared great, and so little blemishes to clear, and it's kind of very amazing right now, but I would like to further work on it with frequency separation. So first of all, I want to show you my Capture One, what I did in Capture One. I created a video earlier on how to use Capture One, my work processes in Capture One. If you haven't seen that video, I'll drop a link above so you can just go watch that. So let me just go to Capture One and you guys can see what I did. So this is Capture One, guys. So this is the before, this is the before of the image, and this is the after. So I brought in my levels, I brought in my my white balance, changed my white balance, my color balance, and my color editor. So if you haven't seen how I work with Capture One, please go see that video. Like I said earlier, very important. So once I was done, I just exported, just come here and say edit with Photoshop. So it took me to Photoshop directly. So that's all what I did in Capture One. So we're in Photoshop now. So I worked on this image. And I had to change the background. So this was the background before, so it was not appealing. So I had to make some basic corrections to it. So I used first of all, in this layer, on this background copy, I just duplicated my layer, as you can see. Then use the mixer brush tool to roll over the background and make it smoother. Then I used my color range as a selection tool. If you haven't seen my first video on how to select subjects in an image, please go watch that. That's actually my first video on my YouTube channel, how to use Photoshop for beginners and basic tools you can use in Photoshop. So I explained the color range also in that video. Please go watch that out. I will likely also drop the link above. And I added texture to the backdrop, at least to bring life to the image. And also once I was done adding texture, I also brought in my blur, my Gaussian blur, and my lens blur. Then lastly, I used my levels to bring back the construct of the image. And that's all. That's basically all what I did to this image. I'll flatten this image. So what I just do is to press Shift down and press the last one and press Control E or Command E on Mac. So it's going to merge these layers together. It's going to flatten it rather. So guys, we want to start with frequency separation now. So the first thing you have to do is to duplicate this layer. You can just click and drag here, or just say Command J or Control J. So now we are here. So we want to duplicate it also twice. You're doing it twice. So press Control J again, Control J. Then you want to rename this to skin tone and you want to rename this to textures. Yeah, so on this skin tone, you want to the next thing is to apply a Gaussian blur to the skin. You want to blur out those textures on the skin, so you come to filter, blur, and say Gaussian blur. So I really recommend this. This is very important to know the particular radius to use when using frequency separation. Basically, I don't go above 14. But I highly recommend, if the image is very close up, like this is a beauty shoot, it's close up, I highly recommend you use a radius that is very high, say 14, at least, at most 14. And if the image is kind of far away, so I use something like 5 or 4 or 6, depending on the image. It depends on the image. So for closer shoots like this, so I just use 14, basically 14. I'll just type that in, 14, and click OK. So now we've added this Gaussian blur to this layer. Then you click on the texture layer, then you come to image, then you go to apply image, and so you want on this place, click on the skin tone. Make sure you click on the skin tone, then click on subtract, yeah, and make sure it is on opacity is on 100, and this is on 2 and 128. Very important. Don't check invert, please. Don't check it. Very important. Just leave it the way it is, like this, then click OK. Then once you come here, just change the blend mode to linear light. Good. So we have successfully created our frequency separation layer. You can just group this and say Shift and Command G. So is to group this layer. So once you off this and on it, if you don't see any difference, it means you have done the right thing. So if you off this and you on it and you are seeing changes to your image rather, then you are obviously on the wrong path. So we have our frequency separation. You can just come here and type frequency separation, or FS. Simply let me just shorten it and just write FS. That is short form for frequency separation. And now, for better understanding and for you to work better with frequency separation for beginners, I really recommend you create a check layer for you to be able to in case you make mistakes, for you to be able to correct your mistakes, and so you won't have to start again. So you have to do that is just to come here under the skin tone, duplicate the skin tone by pressing Ctrl or Command J, then hold Alt on your keyboard or Option on Mac, then click between this and you link this to this. Then also with the texture, Ctrl J, then click on Alt also down. Good. As you can see that there's a difference here. Never mind about that, we'll correct that now. So just change the blend mode to normal. Yeah. So now if you peradventure you are working on the texture layer and you make mistake, all you have to do is just to come here and delete the texture layer instead of deleting this original texture and having to start over with frequency separation again. So we will go back and let me just press Ctrl Z. Yeah. So that's why we created this layer. As you can see, there's the frequency separation layer. So I will also release an action that you can use to create frequency separation. I will drop the link in the description box below, so you guys can actually go there and just run your action. So let me just teach you how to do that now. So let me just delete this, and I have the action here. This is FX Ray. I highly recommend you install this FX Ray Retouch CC. Just double click on it, it's automatically installed, or just right click and say open, and it installs to Photoshop automatically. Then let me go back to Photoshop. So once you are done there, you come to Windows, make sure that your actions button is done. Actions, good. Then it's like I said, I've installed it already. Then you can come here and say advanced frequency separation. Remember this radius, it will ask you to put in your own radius. So I like I did earlier, I just left it at 14. So it's, yeah, it runs the actions for you. As you can see, this is our frequency separation layer, and this is our check layer. Yeah, I'll come to the check layer and explain to you guys what it is used for. So quickly now, this low frequency separation is same thing as the skin tone I created earlier, and the high frequency is the same thing as the texture I created earlier, if you can remember. So this is basically it, and let's just get to editing in with frequency separation. So yeah, so the first thing you have to do, you have to know, even if you are using other technique like micro dodge and bone and frequency separation, the first thing you have to do is to clear your textures, which is very, very important. Before you start anything, make sure you clear your textures. That's the basic rule to any high-end retouching. Clear your textures first. So I did a video on how to use tools in Photoshop. If you can remember very well, I used the clone tab tool, which we're going to be using now. So I have a pimple here. So this brush size is too big, so I'll use the bracket key to reduce the brush size. So what you have to do is to sample and delete. You sample with Alt, you press Alt, then you press Alt, it brings out this sign. Then you sample. Let me just zoom in very well so you guys can see. So you can see a blemish here. I take in my brush, my close stamp rather, then Alt, sample, then delete. That's gone. So close stamp to remember. So if you haven't watched my video on how I use basic tools in Photoshop, please go and watch those videos very well. They are very, very important. Alt, sample, delete, Alt, sample, delete, or sample, delete. Very, very easy. It's not hard. So I would like to clear this off too. Yeah, for your editing, I highly recommend you get a graphics tablet, which is very important. It makes your work faster. And if you are using a mouse, for frequency separation, you can still continue to use your mouse, although you might need to upgrade to a graphics tablet anytime soon. I can assure you it's the right investment for you to actually consider investing in. So I'll just clear the textures here. I'll go to the forehead. Zoom out a little bit, zoom in. You can see there's one here. So I'll just fast forward this part of this video. Now I clear textures. So I'll come back to it when I'm done clearing my textures. Yeah guys, so I think the makeup artist failed to clear some hair on the forehead, so I'll be going with my close tab and try to sort that out ASAP. Now we have worked on the textures. We have successfully cleared some textures on our face. So now we want to go with on the skin tone, and The way to do that is to come to the skin tone layer, which is also the same thing as the low frequency layer, so you don't have to be confused. Then my check layer now, very important. Let me explain what the check layer is all about. So it just helps you basically to know where the shadow is on the face and where the highlight is on the face. So what we want to be doing is you want to use a mixer brush to even out the skin tone, and the way to do that is actually use your mixer brush tool, and you want to brush on the highlight and brush on the shadow separately, then also brush between the highlight and the shadow to create a transition. I know it sounds gibberish, but let's practicalize it and see what we have. So let me on this solarize and the black and white. As you can see here, this is the shadow part, and this is the highlight, then this is the transition. Basically, I don't like working with this though. I just simply off this, then open my black and white and just crush the reds, and with that I can see where my highlight and my shadow is. I can also come and crush the yellows also, so I can see where my highlights and my shadow is. So what I do is just to remember, you are working on the skin tone, so you have to be selected on the skin tone. You have to click on the skin tone. So I'll go and I'll come to mixer brush tool. If you'll come to your brush, so now if you don't have your mixer brush tool here, all you have to do is to come here, right click here and edit toolbar. So once you edit toolbar, you are going to come here and look for your mixer brush tool. You come here and look for your mixer brush tool, then this is a brush here, then you mixer brush, you just come here and drag here. So you have successfully added your mixer brush to the list of brushes. Then once you are done, just click done. So from here now, you just right click here and your mixer brush is here. So what I do is I make sure that my wet is on 30, my load is on 30, my mix is on 30, my flow is on 30 also. And load solid brush. Make sure this is on check. Don't check this. Make sure it's on check. Then make sure this is checked. And what else? Your brush hardness is on 0, and make sure you're working on the soft round brush. Very important. And what else? And that's all for now. Then your brush size. Now as you can see here, we have the shadow part here, and we have the highlight here. So what we want to be doing is to work on the highlights first, then work on the shadow separately, then brush in between the highlight and the shadow to create a transition. So now, I'll be brushing, and when you're working on frequency separation, make sure that you are zoomed into the face. You want to see the shape of the face very well. Yeah, you're zooming into the face. Don't zoom it this way. Don't zoom it this way. Make sure that you are seeing the face very well, so that if you are brushing out of form, you'll be able to correct yourself and bring that back into shape. So let me click on my mixer brush to back, then brush, and so what we have. So we'll be rolling your brush. Make sure you are rolling it. You are rolling your brush. Very, very important. Roll your brush. Yeah. So we roll the dark part too. As you can see, this shade of darkness is different from this shade of darkness. So I'll brush them separately. And if you want this raw file for practice also, I'll actually drop them in the description below. I'll probably upload them on my Google Drive link, so you guys can just go there and download them. And make sure you tag DO Ideology on Instagram whenever you want to post the image on Instagram. I don't have issues with people posting my image or people working on my image, but make sure that you tagged the ideology, and I'll also drop the models handle also, so you guys can tag out too. So here we are. Then also we are working on this darker part also, where make sure I said earlier we are rolling the brush, very important. We are rolling the brush now. So there's a shadow here and there's a shadow here, so we want to work on the transition now. So where these two meet are obviously in this place, so we'll work on the transition here. Yeah, cool. So I want to go in. Make sure you don't touch any part of the skin, any part that is not with the skin, like this scarf. Make sure you're not brushing towards the scarf, otherwise you bring in the color of the scarf to your skin and you don't want that. So you just let me go in with my small brush towards the side. Yeah, cool. See the before, I see the after. Cool. Then we have worked on the dark parts, we have worked on the white parts, the highlights rather, on the shadows and highlights. Then we want to work on the transition, and the transition is actually you want to blend the highlight and the shadows together. So all you have to do is to come here, blend, roll your brush to very important. Finger separation is very easy. I will be doing a tutorial on micro dodge and burn, which is a little bit advanced. So also as you can see, so let me just off the black and white layer. Let me just quickly show you what we have done. So this is the before, then this is the after. As you can see, this is the before and this is the after. So we want to go to the remaining parts of the face now. So very important also, I know there's a blush here and I don't want to tamper with it very much, so I'll be brushing the blush separately and also this part separately. I'll show you what I mean. A mixer brush too. Working on the shadows, remember, separately. Let me off the black and white. So I know this place is kind of reddish blush, so I don't want to brush in towards the side, so I'll brush it separately like I said earlier. So here we have it, the dark parts, the shadow rather. So here also the highlight. If you follow how with the contour and highlight a feminine face, you also know the rules that the forehead should be highlighted, the nose, this part of the nose should be highlighted, and this part of the chin should be highlighted. And so we'll do that. Then work on the transition now. Just brush between transition, very important. So we'll work here too on the dark parts. Remember to roll your brush and remember to copy these settings up also, very important. And make sure you don't click sample or layer. Please make sure you don't check the sample or layer, very important too. So now I'll be working on the transition now. Very important. Yeah, for this part too, on the face, the highlight on the face, work on it, roll. And work on the transition here too, very important. make sure you're selected the low frequency edit, which is same thing as the skin tone layer, if you remember very well. I just keep on making emphasis to it so you guys don't mix them up. So obviously you might need to practice very well. I'm actually okay with doing this. I'm not the best yet, but at least to some extent. So I'll forward the remaining part of this video. No, before I do, let me just show you the before and after. This is the before and this is the after. We worked on this side now. This is the before and this is the after. Yeah, as you can see, we zoom out. Before, after. So I'll go in to this part of this face, work on it, and then I will show you what's the result of what I did. So I'll fast forward this part of this video. So guys, I noticed that I didn't clear these lines here on the eye bag, so I'll go in with my close stamp tool. So we will continue working with our low frequency pressure and with our mixer brush tool. So as you can see, this is my before and this is my after. So that is that for frequency separation. Also, I will this is very good. So we've done this from year to year. When you're doing frequency separation, you also have to be careful. You lose details a lot and you don't want to actually overdo it. Just follow the basic principle. Work on the highlights, work on the shadows, then work on the transition. And let me just quickly run through the body, the skin, the neck area, and I will come back and show you the results. So guys, I'm done with frequency separation on the neck area. Let me just show you guys what I did. This is the before, then this is the after. As you can see, frequency separation, it's not a very difficult technique to use. It's very simple and straightforward. You need time to practice. So guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Make sure you like and make sure you share with your friends also. And also, very important, subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get this channel to 500 subscribers. I know it actually costs nothing for you to just hit the subscribe button. And also turn on your post notifications for you to be the first to be informed anytime I post a new video. Remember, it's photography. It's easy and you can obviously do it. Bye for now. Stay safe. Bye.